Welcome to the last best of 5 of this week. We're on Odyssey, spawning to the bottom right in green, playing Protoss for Psystorm. It's Poizon. And to the top left in orange, playing Protoss for Rival Gaming, it's Koshkii. We've seen a plenty of games between these two friends in our time in the FSL. So far, Koshkii has always come up ahead, eventually. Let's see if she can do it again, or if Poizon can finally avenge herself. High five of probes. Double gateway opening for Poizon. Double gateway opening for Koshkii. Let's see if they will both go for Stalkers or if one of them actually wants to go for Adepts. Cybernetics core incoming. Both getting a good scout of what the opponent is doing. A little bit later with the Cybernetics core is Poizon here. Not a game-changing advantage, but a small edge. A very, very small edge. Koshkii already showing nerves. Having the caps activated. So a lot of probe moving around. Poizon just moving towards the watchtower and moving back in, probably in order to check for a potential natural base there, while producing adepts, while Koshkii going for the typical stalkers. I don't know if I can actually remember her building adepts first. She almost all of the time goes stalkers first. And the mothership core right behind it. We'll probably not even send these stalkers across the map, but we'll... Well, actually, if she hasn't taken a base yet, so usually she uses these stalkers in order to secure the base wherever the mothership core is, not from air harassment. So we'll probably now get this probe at least, so that's a small catch already, while the adepts are just standing around here, checking around the surroundings of her base at the third base and the other third base, but there actually is another probe in place that did not get spotted. And the stalkers also doing the same, spotting for possible proxies at every location. Poizon will be a little bit quicker with her base, and Koshkii just scouts it right now as it gets planted. So what will she do? She already has a robo on the way, and will probably now expand herself. So a little bit of oversaturation already for Poizon. Not really much you can do about it in PvP. You don't really want to take your base ridiculously fast, because then you might end up losing it straight away. So stalkers inside the main base for now. And here we have them, stalkers in place as well. This map is just huge. I mean, even if you don't spot any proxy, it doesn't mean that it's not there. So it could still be somewhere over here. It's still fairly close to your main base. So if you really want to proxy some sort of Stargate, it could still come in and kill off... Oracle could still come in and kill off a lot of workers down here. So Koshkii even getting some sentries here. Quite interesting, actually. Might even expect some adepts to shade away and wants to have maybe a force field ready to seal this area off so that the shades won't get in. Because she knows that her opponent played shades. She saw them with her own probe. So Twilight Council into Forge. And some Immortals wants to have some heavy firepower on the ground. Poizon not transitioning into any air shenanigans, but instead going for the Twilight Council with the Resonating Glaive. And so far it looks as if Koshkii will have more firepower eventually. Especially with these elegant, newly skinned immortals. Upgrades for both players. Well, they're mirroring each other's style fairly nicely here. Practice, a lot of practice, and tournament games have made them pretty aware of what their opponent is capable of doing. The hallucinated Phoenix gets a good view of the army composition, if Poizon actually was watching. Same for Koshkii. Nice Immo skin, so now we know that she did pay attention. Charge incoming for Koshkii. Might actually be not that helpful against the Adepts, since Adepts are really good against Zealots, because Adepts do extra damage against light damage, and Zealots are light units. Still, of course, if you hit a good timing, Speedlots still keep the opponent busy a lot. Once they close in, they deal a lot of damage, and with Charge they can do that more quickly. Getting the Templar Archives, not for Storm, but for Archons, in order to get rid of some gas that it's not needed while taking a third base. Both players do not really want to risk anything early on, especially not attacking into a well-fortified position. So Koshkii being a little bit more quick, being a little bit quicker there with her own third base, while Poizon is not even thinking about taking one at the moment. Only trying to saturate her bases, but the hallucinated Phoenix now realizes that another base has been built and or is in construction, is under construction for now. Although she does not know how long it has been so. So will she expand herself, or will she try to deny that third base? Seems as if it's the latter. No! Nice move there by Poizon, trying to get the gold base up for herself and making up for the lost mining time that Koshkii will win because her own base is a little bit earlier. I like this move a lot. This could, especially with the army composition that Poizon is going for, that is actually way more mineral heavy than gas heavy. I like this a lot. Could actually prove quite useful, but still, the longer this game goes, the more firepower on the ground Koshkii will get. And once this firepower gets big enough, there will just be no way to beat her army with just Adepts and a few Stalkers and a few Immortals. Because Koshkii's army will just be so much more powerful on the ground, and also tankier. Not only dealing damage, but also being able to handle damage way better. Especially with the Archons in front, they will just eat up all of these Adepts in no time. So trying to secure this base even with cannons, just in case something comes along. Still interesting to see that Poizon, despite her nickname, is not going for DTs and maybe a Warp Prism, trying to harass at several angles. Of course, Koshkii is still prepared, or is already prepared, sorry. That's, of course, as Poizon has stated so many times, the problem if you're infamous for playing DTs. Everybody will expect it. And then sometimes, of course, you can just do the same as Scion did in the games before. Because everyone is expecting it, you might just use it against your opponent by not doing what you're expected to do. So, now we have the first big engagement, but as we said, I mean, there's a good engagement over to the left-hand side, but a bad engagement over to the right-hand side. A lot of force fields being thrown down, but it still seems as if Koshkii might not have enough beef over here. Since there were just too many units for Poizon there. Koshkii trying to retreat, the Shades will try to shade on top of all of these units, unfortunately not being microed anymore after the initial shading. But yeah, it will be pretty difficult for Koshkii to actually get away from that army. RIP Mothership Core, yeah, that was actually there in order to beam her out if need be. So now the first Immortal dies, but more units are incoming. Speedlots, again, keeping these units busy, but she has to retreat for now. Poizon has to be careful not to overcommit here. I don't think she really wants to attack into a fortified position of Koshkii here. but she still has a lot of units, so she might actually be able to somehow pull this through. Unfortunately for her, a lot of these units were not firing at that point in time, but it seems that Poizon might actually be able to break through and take out that third base over here, which would be a huge victory already. Yeah, no way Koshkii can save this base over here, so she retreats right away into her natural base, getting more Archons, getting more units, but this is a really problematic situation for her, especially if Poizon decides to not back up, but to move into the natural base instead, which Poizon does not do, does not really want to overextend here. So, of course, since she cannot know what we know, I think I kind of like this idea. Although she could have just sent in the observer in order to check what was here and then move out if need be. Seems as if she just changed her mind, so never mind. But of course, this little retreat has given Koshkii a lot of time in order to get back up her army. Or get her army back up, that was actually what I wanted to say. And even more, now checking for a third base that is not here, but stealing Poizon's idea of a third base over here. Ooh, Poizon has to be careful, does not want to go through this small gap here. Okay, and in the meantime, like I said, Koshkii has had the time to get some more army units back, has to be careful with the Mothership Core though, and fires up the Photon Overcharge in advance. Poizon being a little bit indecisive here, but she has taken a third and a fourth base at the same time, is now just going into more and more army units. So game looking good for her so far. Unfortunately for her, she couldn't know that she could have won the game already if she had just pressured further into the natural base. But was probably scared of doing so, of maybe wasting her advantage at that point in time. Knowing that she did have the advantage at that point, she rather wanted to retreat and further it a little bit more. But that just gave actually Koshkii the chance to survive this. Lucky Koshkii, yeah? Could have actually lost that first map already. But she's not safe yet. Her opponent still has a very powerful army. But so does she now, once more. Third base is almost done again. And she had this gold base up as well. So let's have a look at the income tab. Looking fairly even. Even a little bit better for Koshkii now, resource-wise, especially in minerals, not so much in gas. So gas, of course, being an important part in building a really superior Protoss force. Poizon also getting the +3 upgrade, but Koshkii already has it. Poizon waiting for the 200-200. Koshkii's army fairly small. And there we have a small little drop inside the main base by Poizon. Managed to sneak in a Warp Prism over here. But the army was in place and the Photon Overcharge as well, so not much damage dealt. Main army moving towards the third base. I think Poizon has no idea of that base over here. No, she does not. Let's see how the second engagement will be going. Army is almost equal once more. Poizon having a little bit more army supply. There's only 3 mortals, 6 Archons. Against 9 Immortals and 5 Archons. And a lot of Adepts though. Okay, both armies moving out. Ooh, could actually end in a base race scenario here. Both players not having a Mothership Core. Oh, Koshkii has a Mothership Core with her army. While Poizon does not. So Koshkii, no, okay, Koshkii doesn't really want to sacrifice that third base over here. Although I think she actually could. But yeah, doesn't really want to do that. Doesn't want to go for a base race. Is coming in from the left-hand side, having a good flank here. Most of Poizon's army just being clumped up in one point. Way superior concave here for Koshkii, and all of the damage dealers firing from behind, annihilating Poizon's forces here that were mostly light units, not dealing that much damage. So a very unfavorable engagement there for Poizon, and Koshkii driving back all of her forces. At the same time, small engagement here at the third base. Getting it eventually, which is a big deal. Koshkii just having to stop the chasing of her opponent's army for quite some time. Yeah, the hero emote just barely getting that nexus down here. But of course, Poizon does not have a standing force, and she will probably just lose the third base of her own. Yeah, no way she can save that. Not with a cannon and the few army units. Poizon has to be careful. You don't really want to engage in that. Especially not with adepts against mostly Archons here. Giving away that your army is fairly weak. Yeah, there's no way to save this. So, if a base is as good as dead, you better treat it as if it was already dead. You don't really want to spend any resources into saving it if you don't really have a reasonable chance of actually saving it. So, the gold base is still running, and Koshkii does not know about it. Was probably not expecting her opponent to take this gold base once more after she had already killed it. And now moving in. Oh, these should be the superior forces. Of course, engaging into the Photon Overcharge, plus the Void Rays, plus all of the ground forces. But it does not even matter. Koshkii moving forwards with everything she has, tanking the damage with the Archons, dishing out the damage with all of the Immortals from behind. GG, and Koshkii takes the first map. Proxima Station is Poizon's pick against the player that's leading 1-0. It's Koshkii. So let's see how these two will try to hurt each other this time around. No proxy so far. Only one gateway into gas this time around. Only one gateway, no gas so far for Poizon, but here it comes a little bit delayed. And the probe high five somewhere around here, I guess. Well, okay, never mind. Somewhere around here, like I said. Fairly good guess. So, 2 gateway opening for Poizon. 2 gateway opening for Koshkii. Almost mirroring each other's builds. Probably again 2 Stalkers for Koshkii, I guess. Let's see if Poizon will also go into Stalkers straight away, or if she wants to try it with Adepts again. Koshkii getting a good view of everything that's important. Same for Poizon. And also blocking the base, unlike this. It's 100 minerals gone, but nevertheless, it will delay this base for quite some time. Koshkii not going for the block, just retreats with the probe for now to send it in another day, or maybe even planting down some proxy building somewhere down here, maybe. That could actually be fairly interesting. So let's see, Mothership Core in the making. What will it be? It will be a pylon. Come on, you want to do it. There it is. So should actually be a Stargate incoming. But Poizon of course knows that her opponent has not tried to take this base, and also not this base, because the probe is covering it. So she moves in once more, wants to see what her opponent is doing, since she is not going for a base back here. Will probably eventually use that probe here, which is a bit unfortunate, because now she does not know if her opponent might actually be expanding towards this position. Okay, Stalker is incoming, will take down that pylon, and in the meantime we have a robotics facility. So she will just try to produce some Immortals and walk through this debris back here. Poizon has not expanded yet, is still on one base, probably a little bit uncertain what her opponent might be doing here. So she does not really want to invest into a base too early on. Don't really think she wants to go for a one-base play. That's fairly uncommon, especially not without any sort of proxy going on. So the robotics facility is done, plus a gateway. An observer first. Interesting, actually. Don't really know what Koshkii is up to, but it seems as if she just wants to build a usual force and wants to break through this debris eventually. Stargate incoming for Poizon. All on one base, still. I mean, she cannot know if Koshkii has already started taking a base back here or not. But she has adepts all over the place and will now spot! Will she? Or will she? Oh, please tell me. Please tell me you will spot it. Yes, she will. Oh, that would have been so... Oh, that would have been just so... I don't know what to say about that. If she had just missed it, that would have been so unfortunate. But yeah, now she sees it. Knows what's going on. Knows that her opponent will probably try... I saw nothing. Will probably try to get through this debris back here. And will be prepared for it. Only has a few units though, and this Immortal is packing a heavy punch. So Mothership Core also incoming. Poizon sends down all of her forces. Ooh, doesn't want to lose the Mothership Core over here, although there's no pylon whatsoever. Planting down a pylon right now, but it will probably not finish before this debris goes down. So Photon Overcharge will probably not be available. Unless of course Koshkii is taking her sweet time in order to walk up that ramp. Yeah, might just barely get it down, especially with the help of the Immortals, before Photon Overcharge can actually be used. Oh, the Mothership Core even getting taken out, but it would have been of no use anyways. So, with the help of the Void Ray though, and her forces, she should actually be able to drive that away. Has to be careful not to overextend into the fortified position of Koshkii though. Oh, Koshkii mismicroing one of her units there, so it just gets taken out for free. A little bit unfortunate there. So still the Void Ray now does not have its overcharge anymore. The, what is it called? Prismatic alignment. Ooh, nice force field there by, was it by Poizon? Yeah, of course it was by Poizon. Nice force field there, just separating this one unit from the rest of the army. But of course, Koshkii is still all in and has to deal more damage. She wants to do it. There are two pylons here, but no Mothership Core though. One more in the making, but the freshly made Mothership Core will only have one Photon Overcharge available. Nice back and forth there by Poizon, always pressing a little, chipping away one of these units or two, and then retreating into her pylon. There comes the Photon Overcharge now, and she will probably be able to drive away that force once more. Maybe cutting away another unit over here. And now finally moving forward a little bit. I mean, if she ever manages to kill off these two pylons, this push will be held. But right now it's a pretty big engagement between all of these units. The Immortals tanking damage like crazy, while the Stalkers trying to fire them down, because they are actually the heavy hitters of the army, and finally succeeding in doing so. Whew, so all that's left for Poizon right now is only Adepts and Stalkers. So Stalkers being better than Adepts, and the Immortal being better than the Stalkers. Photon Overcharge not longer available at that part of the army. Koshkii just waiting for a few more units to arrive, but there's no more Immortal. Immortal still full health and full shields. Will be fairly difficult to take this out, especially with the unit composition that Poizon has gone for. So the Void Ray, of course, might help once more, but with the Stalker amount, it will also be a little bit... Ooh, a little minus micro by Koshkii once more, losing one Stalker for free. So that's a good thing for Poizon. Really nerve-wracking engagement here, both on one basis. This fight will decide the winner of this match. Taking out another pylon over here, and now supply blocking Poizon. That's actually a really good thing for Koshkii here. And the army in a very unfortunate spot there. So army moving in, one force field goes down, will only cut the unit into an even bigger arc. And now Poizon has to move in with probes, which is of course not what she ever wanted to do. Will now lose a great chunk of her income. And sinking in supply. Phew, and that might have been actually the engagement that Koshkii was hoping for. And now has two Immortals in the mix plus Stalkers, while Koshkii only has a few Stalkers left that will just get annihilated by these Immortals. Yeah, and the Adepts themselves will not help against these Stalkers at all. Void Ray will do some work, but even still has prismatic alignment. And Poizon is waiting patiently, just letting these gateways die. Wants to wait for the Immortal to get out. and maybe another warp in, but the army is still very small, and now this will be the last stand. Pulling almost all of the probes, getting in with the units. She knows if she can't kill the force right now, she will never be able to. But it... will it be enough? Will it be enough? Maybe barely. Still a lot of these adepts are alive, but they now get taken out by the stalkers. The immortals still at full shields. And eventually it seems that Koshkii has broken through. Or not. Or just barely making the hold here. But 16 to 43, I mean, her economy is in shambles. She would have needed to decisively kill this off. GG, and Koshkii takes the second map as well. Blood Boil is our third map. Spawning to the bottom right in green. Playing Protoss for Psystorm. It's Poizon. And to the top left in orange. Her bosom friend. Playing for rival. It's Koshkii. After a straight up macro game and a straight up cheese, what can we expect next out of these two ladies? Probe moving out. But that's a scouting probe, which can turn into a proxy probe, of course. You never know. These probes, man, can be pretty annoying. So later probe scout for Poizon though. Double gateway once more. Gateway, double gateway once more. So mirroring each other's builds again. So far, which is not that uncommon. It's a really solid opening in PvP. Ooh, one probe too much in this little geyser. But she's realized it already. Going for the base this time around. No, okay, just checking for potential proxies, and now getting a safety pylon back here in order to spot anything that might... Oh no, and actually never mind, that was... What am I doing? Of course that was Poizon, I was just totally looking incorrectly. So now we have a warp-in pylon for Poizon there, even if it's going to be a slow warp-in pylon. Let's see if Koshkii will actually realize that. Seems as if Poizon might actually want to go into some heavy gateway pressure. Should of course try to chrono boost this cybernetics core here, I feel. But yeah, Koshkii's Stalker is already on the move. Will it walk past here? It will. And find the... Oh, yeah, okay, just barely. Finding the pylon and now moving backwards. We'll take it out, so, okay. Good then that Poizon didn't try to go and boost out the warp gate research tech. Would have unfortunately not made any difference. And bam! Taking it out. Nice try though, but Koshkii just being too aware of the problems that this map offers to an unsuspecting player. Poizon still having a probe out here, so might still be able to scout a little bit later. Sees that there is no base being taken back here, but of course does not know about this base now. So Stalker's moving out, wanting to fight maybe more of these proxy builds. And still missing the probe up here, which is fairly interesting. I think actually Poizon could have gotten through with a pylon over here. So taking a base of her own. Even the one in front obviously wants to get the 4 gases ready instead of only 3. Well, Koshkii is satisfied with only 3 gases. Could actually be a small edge there for Poizon later on in the game, if the game actually goes that long. But no proxy shenanigans around this time. So yeah, with 4 gases, it will allow Poizon to get more tech-heavy units out early on than her opponent, and especially more of them. So there's the Oracle flying in, but the units are ready. Yeah, that's something that unfortunately you will probably never be able to catch Koshkii off guard with. We've seen her being ready for Oracle harassment again and again in PvP. So trying an Oracle is of course an option, but against Koshkii it rarely ever works, because you will always have Stalkers and the Mothership Core in place. Usually the Stalkers where the Mothership Core is not. So maybe, since this time around it seems as if she was not paying attention, Poizon will still be able to get something done. And there you can see me lying. After praising the player for always being aware to Oracle drops, she does not have her units in place this time around. Well, probably was the 1 out of 100 times where we usually see her having these Stalkers positioned at some point. Of course she didn't have the Stalkers in position yet because the base was not done and was not getting saturated, so it would have been a waste to park the Stalkers over there. But then once it was done, there was this small little timing window where Koshkii had forgotten to place her Stalkers at that position, and the Oracle just flew in at that point in time. So both players just getting up her macro. Fourth gas not being taken yet. Probably because she has more gas more gas left anyways. So just waiting a little bit until the ratio of the mineral income gets a little bit higher before taking more gas. Smart idea. Twilight Council right behind it, and some Void Rays are out already. They're Void Rays, massing up my Void Rays. Well, Koshkii is going into more gates and getting a Templar Archive for Archons there. Charge Lot Archon Immortal, the weapon of choice for Koshkii. Poizon has already taken out the rocks back here, blocking this path into her natural base and later on into her third base if she ever bothers to take it. Oracle still up here, not really doing that much, but the Stasis Ward is already in position. So if a pesky probe should ever move out to take this base, it will get stunned immediately, also informing Poizon what was going on. Actually, even some units, if they move out like this and maybe want to get a bigger arc, some of these units could even get trapped into the Stasis Ward as well. Yeah, inside the Stasis Ward as well. So, and for now, both players don't really want to engage into any sort of fortified position at a natural base, so they just stand back. But now Koshkii decides to move out a little bit, cleaning the Stasis Ward, not before the Archon gets captured in it. But now, of course, Poizon should know about Koshkii's plans to maybe take a third base over at the gold. Or at least she knows about the push headed towards her, but I think she does not have to be worried all that much. These 4 Void Rays should provide a lot of firepower against these forces, even though there are some Stalkers and an Archon around. Where's the Archon, by the way? Oh, still stuck. Right? Was it still stuck? Where is it? Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay, a few more units incoming. So still, I don't think Koshkii will be able to do that much. Of course, Poizon's army is out of position right now. So, this could actually work out better than I expected, with all of the army now moving in, and Poizon's army totally out of position. Yeah, so the Photonova Charge will also be not available. Oh, very unfortunate there for Poizon. Poizon actually wanted to move out, intercepting the forces of Koshkii there, but ended up being totally out of place. Of course, might now even be able to get a good sandwich on all of these forces. The Void Rays, unfortunately, not really firing at the unit she actually wants to fire at. And with the more units incoming here, actually it seems as if Koshkii will be able to clean up everything on the ground and even the forces in the air, but barely not. Okay, so Poizon actually gets all of these forces done. Might actually end up losing this natural base here if she will not be able to manage this Immortal over here that, yeah, just barely gets it and kills off everything that Koshkii had. Did she lose so many workers in this engagement? Well, a few of them. Looks as if this base was never that really well saturated to begin with. In the meantime, Koshkii, though, trying to take a third base, has now lost all of her forces. Poizon, of course, not trying to counter attack because she does not have that many forces. I think it would still be kinda nice to just send these Void Rays across the map, maybe trying to pick off something. But of course she's pretty scared right now that Koshkii might just send in a few more units. Yeah, very, very unfortunate there for Poizon. Could have easily helped this push. Would have probably even driven it away if Koshkii had seen it standing ready within the entrance. But yeah, being that far out of position just cost her more units than needed, than necessary. So, Koshkii now on 3 bases, while Poizon just trying to get her third established. Now moving across the map, wants to deal some counter pressure, but she will probably not be able to do so. I mean, these pylons are not in the best of positions. I think you'd rather would like to have this one a little bit more forward here, because you can actually expect an army to come in from here. No army with any wits would try to get upwards that ramp against an army that's in position. So I think it would be better to get this pylon somewhere over here. Or if you're really afraid of an army maybe attacking from this angle upwards that part, you could just plant it back here. But I think it's fairly useless over here. Unless, of course, the army just moves in very closely towards that. The lack of gas on these maps is sickening. Well, of course it's sickening if you decide to take that base first, Koshkii. Could have done like Poizon did. Okay, nice move there, getting in with the Oracle once more. That seemed to have been abandoned for a little while. And now trying to get in. I mean, she has seen the army composition. And okay, never mind. Now, of course, if she just moves in even closer, this pylon will come in handy. But yeah, with all of these Void Rays, there are a lot of Archons, though, dealing a lot of splash damage to all of these Void Rays here. And on the ground, of course, Koshkii cannot hold at all. Nice little move there, trying to lure all of these ground forces into the Stasis Ward. But the problem right now is that all of these Archons will annihilate all of these Void Rays. And Poizon has just lost her forces, will unfortunately even sacrifice this Void Ray over here with the Miss Rally. And that was, of course, the best engagement that Koshkii could have just hoped for, even having established a 4th base at the gold now, while Poizon has just barely saturated her 3rd back here. So everything speaks for Koshkii right now, going for the counterattack, having realized that her opponent has just lost her standing forces. So since she still has most of her forces, there's actually no way, even for the mighty Warping in Protoss, to replenish all of these forces in the short amount of time it takes for Koshkii's army to walk across the map inside the natural base. Poizon just realizes, oh shit, here she is, coming in, fires up one photon overcharge, but she does not have enough energy for a second one. The Archon's just wasting away that Void Ray over here. Poizon has to pull the probes, but it's not enough. GG, and Koshkii takes the Series 3-0.